This is Issei Sagawa, also known as the Kobe Cannibal. Sagawa is best known for the killing of Renee Hartevelt back in 1981. Sagawa murdered Hartevelt, then proceeded to mutilate and cannibalize her corpse over several days. Sagawa was arrested and deported to Japan, but was released after 2 years of pretrial detention. This is how it happened. Issei Sagawa was born April 26, 1949 in Kobe, Hyogo, Japan, to a wealthy family. His father was a businessman who had served as president of Kurita Water Industries, and his grandfather had been an editor for the Asahi Shimbun. Sagawa was born prematurely and reportedly small enough that he could fit in the palm of his father's hand. He also claims that for as long as he can remember, he possessed cannibalistic urges and a fascination with eating human flesh. Sagawa can recall with fondness of his uncle dressing up as a monster and lowering him and his brother into a stew pot for eating. Sagawa first experienced cannibalistic desires while in the first grade, after seeing a female's thigh in class and thinking, that looks delicious. Even though Sagawa visited a psychiatrist for his urges at the age of 15, he found it unhelpful and retreated further into his isolated psyche, and in a 2011 interview with Vice, Sagawa reported that as a youth he partook in bestiality with his dog and experienced cannibalistic desires for women. He blames the media's representation of Western women like Grace Kelly for sparking his cannibalistic fantasies, equating it with what most people would call sexual desire. Where other people dreamed of bedding these beautiful women, Sagawa dreamed of eating them. Issei Sagawa says the reasons behind his cannibalistic tendencies can't be explained to or conceptualized by anyone who doesn't share his exact urges. It's simply a fetish, he said. For example, if a normal man fancied a girl, he'd naturally feel a desire to see her as often as possible, to be close to her, to smell her and kiss her, right? To me, eating is just an extension of that. Frankly, I can't fathom why everyone doesn't feel this urge to eat, to consume other people. He maintains, however, that he never thought of killing them, only gnawing on their flesh. Believe it or not, Rena wasn't Sagawa's first victim. At the age of 24, while attending Waco University in Tokyo, Sagawa followed a tall German woman home, then broke into her apartment while she was sleeping. Sagawa's intention was to cannibalize her by slicing off part of her butt and sneaking away with a small part of her flesh. But she awoke and, according to Sagawa, thwarted his attack and pushed him to the ground. Sagawa was captured by police and charged with attempted rape, and did not confess his true intentions to authorities. Sagawa's charges of attempted rape were dropped when his father paid a settlement to the victim. In 1977, at the age of 27, Sagawa moved to France to pursue a PhD in literature at the Sorbonne in Paris. Sagawa has said that while residing in Paris, almost every night I would bring a prostitute home and then try to shoot them, but for some reason my fingers froze up and I couldn't pull the trigger. While studying at the college in France, there Sagawa met a woman named Renee Hartevelt. Renee was a Dutch student studying with Sagawa at the Sorbonne. Over time, Sagawa started to develop a friendship with Renee and began inviting her to his home for dinner from time to time. And at some point, he gained her trust. He actually attempted to kill her once before, but fell unsuccessful, before actually murdering her. The first time the gun misfired when her back was turned. Though most would take this as a sign to give up, it only pushed Sagawa further down his rabbit hole. It made me even more hysterical, and I knew that I simply had to kill her, he said. On June 11, 1981, Sagawa invited Renee to dinner at his apartment once again at 10 Rue Erlangen, under the pretext of translating poetry for a school assignment. Sagawa planned to kill and eat her, having selected her for her health and beauty, characteristics he felt he lacked. Sagawa considered himself weak, ugly, and small. Clever assumption since he was only 4 feet and 9 inches tall. After Hartevelt arrived, She began reading poetry at a desk with her back to Sagawa when he shot her in the neck with a rifle. This time, the gun fired, and Hardevelt was killed instantly. Sagawa only felt a moment of remorse before he became elated. Sagawa said he fainted after the shock of shooting her, but awoke with the realization that he had to carry out his plan, saying, "I thought about calling an ambulance," he recalled. "But then I thought, hang on, don't be stupid. You've been dreaming about this for 32 years, and now it's actually happening." He then proceeded to bite into her skin, but couldn't because his teeth were not sharp enough. So he left the apartment and purchased a butcher knife, saying, "The first thing I did was cut into her buttock. No matter how deep I cut, all I saw was the fat beneath the skin. It looked like corn, and it took a while to actually reach the red meat," Sagawa recalled. "The moment I saw the meat, I tore a chunk off with my fingers and threw it into my mouth. It was truly a historical moment for me." Sagawa then proceeded to rape her corpse. Ultimately, he said his only regret was that he hadn't eaten her while she was alive. "What I truly wished was to eat her living flesh," he said. "Nobody believes me, but my ultimate intention was to eat her, not necessarily to kill her." Sagawa consumed various parts of Hardevelt's body, eating most of her body parts either raw or cooked while saving other parts in his refrigerator. Sagawa also took photographs of Hardevelt's body at each eating stage. 2 days after killing Hardevelt, Sagawa disposed of what remained of her body. He had eaten or frozen most of her pelvic region, so he put her legs, torso, and head into 2 suitcases and hailed a cab. The taxi dropped him off at the Bois de Boulogne Park, which had a secluded lake inside it. He had planned to drop the suitcases in it, but several people noticed the suitcases dripping blood and notified the French police. When police found Sagawa and questioned him, his response was a simple admission. "I killed her to eat her flesh," he said. Sagawa's wealthy father provided a lawyer for his defense, and after being held for 2 years awaiting trial, Sagawa was found legally insane and unfit to stand trial by the French judge, Jean-Louis Bruguière, who ordered him held indefinitely in a mental institution. Sagawa's subsequent publicity and macabre celebrity likely contributed to the French authorities' decision to deport him to Japan, where he was immediately committed to Matsuzawa Hospital in Tokyo. His examining psychologists all declared him sane and found sexual perversion was his sole motivation for murder. As the charges against Sagawa in France had been dropped, the French court documents were sealed and were not released to Japanese authorities. Consequently, Sagawa could not legally be detained in Japan, so they had to let him go. Sagawa checked himself out of the Matsuzawa Psychiatric Hospital in Tokyo on August 12, 1986, and subsequently remained free. After being released, Issei Sagawa walked the streets of Tokyo free to do as he pleased. A terrifying thought when one hears that the threat of life in prison hasn't done much to quell his urges, saying, "The desire to eat people becomes so intense around June when women start wearing less and showing more skin," he said. "Just today, I saw a girl with a really nice derriere on my way to the train station. When I see things like that, I think about wanting to eat someone again before I die. What I'm saying is, I can't bear the thought of leaving this life without ever tasting that derriere that I saw this morning, or her thighs," he continued. "I want to eat them again while I'm alive, so that I can at least be satisfied when I die." Between 1986 and 1997, Sagawa was frequently invited to be a guest speaker and commentator. In 1992, Sagawa appeared in Hisayasu Sato's exploitation film, Uwakizuma, Chijokuzeme, as a sadosexual voyeur. Sagawa wrote books about the murder he committed, as well as Shonen a book on the 1997 Kobe child murders. Thank you guys so much for watching. What do you think about this case? Leave us a comment and let us know. But before you go, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more chilling, gruesome stories like this. Hope to see you again.